Hello book lovers, what's up? My name is Maryam and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to do a book talk for A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So if you don't know, this is Sarah J. Maas's first book in her A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So it's basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling set in this world where humans and Fae live separately after this war that happened. And the Fae live in Prythian, which is like their fairy lands, and they have 7 courts, one for each season, a night, day, and dawn court. Each court is ruled by a high lord. And one thing that I found really interesting in this book is that there are different types of fae in this world, and how each time one would be introduced, we got like a unique set of characteristics about them. So I thought that was a really cool and unique aspect of this book, and it was great for world building. Another thing that I like about this book is that the fae in this book can lie, and that's not something that we see all the time in fae books. Usually they can't lie. For the most part, I thought the world building in this book was pretty strong. There were a few things that I didn't really get, but I'll go more into those in the spoiler section so I don't spoil anyone. Basically, in this book we follow this human named Feyre, and one day she's out hunting and she kills a fae accidentally thinking that it is a wolf. And then a high lord from the Spring Court comes to take her because as a part of the treaty, she has to basically sacrifice her life or give up her life and live in the Faelands or Prythian, where really no humans really survive. So Feyre goes there and basically she finds out a bunch of these Fae secrets and learns more of their story as she's trying to find a way to escape, basically. Overall, I really did enjoy this book. I definitely will say that I didn't love it as much as I love the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and I definitely didn't love it as much as a lot of other people did, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. First thing that I want to talk about is the pacing of this book. I thought it started off really strong and it ended really strong, but the middle was really slow for me. I kind of had to push through it, and I didn't really enjoy that middle part that much. There's a lot more action at the end of the story than there was in the middle, and I just sort of found that middle part to be a little boring. In this book, Sarah J. Maas writes in the first-person point of view as opposed to third-person point of view that she does in the Throne of Glass series, and I have to say I kind of enjoyed this point of view a little bit more. It really gives more of an insight into the character and their thoughts. I usually always enjoy first-person point of view more anyways when I'm reading, so I think it's because of this point of view change from the Throne of Glass books that I really enjoyed Sarah J. Maas's writing in this book a lot more than I did in the other series. Sarah J. Maas also wrote very uniquely complex characters in this book, just like she does in all of her books. I really enjoyed them, especially Lucien, I think, is definitely my favorite character in this book so far. But I'll talk more about the other characters in the spoilery section, especially Rhysand, because I know he's like everything that people love to talk about the series. I have thoughts on him. I haven't read Akamath yet, so maybe my thoughts aren't going to be what everyone else thinks, but I'll get there eventually. I just started Akamath today, so we'll see how that goes. For the most part, I enjoyed Feyre's character more than I liked Selena, but at the same time, I still didn't really like Feyre that much. I thought she was a little annoying, and she just was a little ridiculous sometimes too, but I'll talk more about the things that bothered me about her in the spoilery section so I don't spoil anyone. I did enjoy her character development. She kind of went from this person who settled and just wanted something really simple to someone who cared for something that was bigger than herself, so I really did enjoy that aspect of this book. Something else that I liked about Feyre is that she had a hobby, and that was painting, and she was very passionate about it, and that's something that we don't really get to see in fiction. And I just feel like if a character has a passion or a hobby, it just makes them more real to me, because in reality, people have hobbies and passions, and you just connect with the characters more because you can connect to having a passion or having a hobby. So that is the end of my non-spoilery section for this book. If you are interested in retellings, I definitely think that this would be a good one to pick up if you want to read a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I did very much enjoy it, except for the parts in the middle, but if you could push through that and you get to the end, the ending is very, very good. Trust me, I flew through the ending. I also just wanted to mention that this is a new adult book, so if you are a youngin, I don't really suggest that you pick up this book. So if you haven't read this book, definitely pick it up, read it, and come back so we can discuss all the spoilery stuff. Other than that, goodbye, non-spoilery people. Bye! So if you're still here, I'm assuming you read the book, and I'm just going to be going into all the spoilers. First thing I want to talk about is Feyre's sisters. I could not believe it. And her dad. I honestly couldn't even comprehend how the youngest person in the family was the one feeding the family, was the one making sure everyone in the family was okay. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. It's not even like her father cared, like, okay, his leg or his foot was hurt, but he basically didn't do anything. Her sisters were just annoying, and I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't understand how the baby of the family was the one who was hunting, was the one who was making sure that everyone was okay, was the one who was making sure the family lived. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And especially Nesta, like, oh my god. However, I did like that she sort of redeemed herself when she said that she went looking for Feyre. And that's the first thing about this world building that I didn't really understand. How come the glamour didn't work on her? Like, am I missing something? Because that wasn't really explained that much in the story, but I definitely hope that we get to see more of Nesta and her other sister, I forget what her name is, in the future books, and just kind of see how things develop with them. Next up, I want to talk about my baby Lucien, who I love so very much. He's basically my favorite character in this book. He's so snarky and sassy and funny, and I loved his tragic backstory, and I just loved everything about him. Him and Tamlin's bromance is like one of my new favorites, and I love how the friendship between him and Feyre progressed. I love it so much. He is perfect. I love Lucien beyond everything. Like, he was the shining moment of this book. I just absolutely loved Lucien so much. Finding out about the curse was probably the most frustrating thing in the entire world, because she was so close to saying I love you, and then Tamlin just sent her away. Like, it was so frustrating. It was like she was so close, and then they didn't have to go through that whole thing at the end. Even though it was the best part of the book, like, they could have avoided that whole thing if, you know, there were still 3 days left. It could have happened. You know, she realized that she knew, she just couldn't say it. And if you just gave her a little bit more time, she probably would have said it, but you sent her away. That was really frustrating for me after we found out. But it was definitely after we found out about the curse that the book picked up a bit for me, because before that I was kind of feeling like this is taking me a long time. I'm not understanding why everyone loves this book. I kind of was kind of feeling iffy about this book. Like, I really wasn't enjoying it that much at that point. But then when we found out about the curse, things really picked up, and I really enjoyed the rest of the book. When they get to under the mountain or whatever it's called, and Feyre strikes up this deal with Amarantha, and Amarantha says, like, okay, with the riddle you get instantaneous freedom. If you go through these trials you'll get freedom, but she doesn't specifically say that it's instantaneous. And then we go through these 3 trials, and the thing that bothered me about Feyre so much, like, it just didn't make any sense to me. Feyre noticed that. Like, she noticed that she said instantaneous. If it wasn't for Feyre, I never would have picked it up. And yet, she didn't spend enough time trying to figure out the riddle. Like, I understand that she couldn't figure out the riddle, but it didn't even feel like she devoted time to figuring it out. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll worry about that later. After I finish the trials, I'll worry about the riddle. But, like, you noticed that with the trials, you weren't gonna get out instantaneously. Why would you not devote more time for instantaneous freedom? Why would you run the risk of going through all these trials and then not having freedom? Why didn't you focus more on figuring out this riddle? And what really bothers me is that it took her 2 minutes to figure it out at the end. It's not like she took forever to figure it out. She figured it out really quickly at the end. So, like, if she had devoted more time throughout these 3 trials figuring out what the answer to the riddle was, like, we could have avoided a lot of conflict. I don't know, sometimes Feyre just didn't make any sense to me. Things she did were kind of, like, ridiculous. The thing with Tamlin Stoneheart, I did not see that coming. When we saw that Tamlin was the 3rd Fae that she had to kill, I was like, oh my god, no, she can't kill Tamlin. But then it was, like, the whole thing with the Stoneheart, and I kind of didn't see that coming, but I thought that was a nice twist. I really did feel for her when it came to killing the 2 Fae, the 2 innocent Fae, because killing people obviously will have a really large effect on you. Going through something like that, knowing that you didn't really have another choice, and that the other choice would have also killed a lot of people, it kind of really sticks with you. So even though she knows she probably made the right decision, she can't shake that off, and I feel like it really is going to be interesting watching her develop through that in the next book. Something else that I don't know if I just missed or wasn't really addressed in the whole world building aspect of this book was, how do we turn into Fae? Does anyone know? Because it wasn't really explained. I don't know if I missed it, but, like, I just don't understand how all of a sudden she could turn into Fae, because it never really was talked about before, any humans turning into Fae. So I was really confused at the end when they just, like, turned her into a Fae. I was like, okay, this kind of came out of nowhere, but how or why? And what's the process? I really didn't understand that part. Alright, now let's talk about Rhysand. First thing I want to mention about Rhysand, did anyone else notice how he became Dumbledore for like 2 seconds? In their last conversation when he said, be glad of your human heart, Feyre, pity those who don't feel anything at all, that was like 100% Dumbledore for me. I was like, wow, Rhysand just turned into Dumbledore for like 2 seconds right there. That's all I could think about. Okay, so Rhysand. He's really interesting. He's really intriguing. He's really complex. Do I like him? No. Not at all. I'm sorry, I can't get over the fact that he drugged her and used her. Like, it just, it I can't step over that. I can't forget about that, and I can't excuse that. I find that to be so incredibly problematic that I can't see Resand as someone that I would want Feyre to end up with. Like, I just can't imagine it. I can't forgive it, and I can't come to terms with it. Like, I'm sorry, I just can't. But I'm not going to forget everything that he did for Feyre also, like healing her and helping her through the trials. So despite all the good that he did for Feyre, what he did to her, I feel like outweighs that. Right now, that's really what's driving my opinion of him. I don't know if my opinion will change in A Court of Mist and Fury. It seems that everyone's opinion has changed in A Court of Mist and Fury. I don't know what's going to happen in A Court of Mist and Fury, but this might end up being another Warner situation where we all hated Warner and then we all loved Warner. So we'll see what happens when I read A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm really excited about that. Something else I'm not sure I understood, but I've seen a lot of people talk about this. At the end when Rhysand sees something in Feyre, I guess that's when he mated with her. I don't know how I feel about that right now. It's just not too good. I'm definitely going to be excited, though, to see what happens when she goes to the Night Court. I feel like there's going to be a lot more court politics in the next book, so I'm excited for that. I'm really down for anything politics related in fantasy books. That is something I love to see. So I'm really excited for that in the next book, and I'm just really excited to see the rest of the story. I want to see how it's going to progress. I love that A Court of Mist and Fury, 600 pages. I love big books. And it always makes me happier when the sequel is bigger than the first book or the second book or third book. Like, it makes me feel good. The story is progressing and there's going to be more to tell. So those are all my thoughts for A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Let me know what you guys thought of this book down in the description below and we can discuss. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!